Ladies and gentlemen, the NBA draft lottery has concluded, and we now know who will pick 1 through 14. And I tell you what, there was some huge surprises that went down, and some franchises are very thankful for the positioning that they got, and some not so much. In this episode, I will be talking about that, along with the NFL draft schedule and what we know so far, along with also some other history being made. So tune in after the intro. Thank you for tuning in to podcast number 96 of Sports Talk with JWock. I am your host, Jonah Walkenfoos. And before we get on to the topics, if you haven't already, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. It's completely free and you'll never miss an episode. And also, share this episode and this channel with your friends and family. I would greatly appreciate it. And I appreciate all of your guys' support so far. As we have continued, and we've already passed 2 years of this channel. So I appreciate all your support. But in this episode, we're going to be talking about some history being made in a sport that I have yet to talk about actually on this channel. We're also going to be talking about the NFL schedule, leaks, and releases that we know so far of what the games are going to be looking like. And then also, we're going to be talking about the NBA draft lottery that went down on Mother's Day, which, by the way, happy Mother's Day. It's a little late, but happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there. We appreciate you all, and especially to my mom. I love you. And I know you're probably watching this, and thank you for your support. But yeah, let's get on to the first topic where some history was being made. We always love being able to discuss history on this channel that was made in a sport. And this is a sport that I have yet to talk about, and that is horse racing. In a few weeks ago in the Kentucky Derby, there was history being made where Golden Tempo won the Kentucky Derby, but that's not the history that was made. The history that was made was the trainer that helped train Golden Tempo and to win this race was Sherry DeVoe, and she becomes the first woman trainer to win the Kentucky Derby. So congratulations to Sherry DeVoe for winning the Kentucky Derby as the first woman trainer. You made history. Let's see if maybe another woman will win in the next few years, maybe even next year. That'd be pretty cool to see. But congratulations to Sherry DeVoe for being the first woman to ever win the Kentucky Derby as a trainer. So congratulations. But let's get on to the NFL schedule, as I'm recording this on Wednesday, May 13th. So by the time you guys are watching this video, you guys will know the full schedule, because I believe the next day is literally when we're getting the full schedule releases for every team. But we do have a couple of games and a couple important games that are going to go down in this NFL season for the 2026-2027 season. So first off, the first game that we are going to witness is on Wednesday, I believe, and that will be between the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. It's a Super Bowl matchup. It's the Super Bowl rematch, should I say, between the Seahawks and the Patriots. Things are going to get interesting. Could the Patriots win? Maybe. I still think the Seahawks, as of now, would win that game, but that's going to be a fun matchup to watch as the first game. Obviously, we all knew the Seahawks were going to be the first game of the season since they won the Super Bowl, but I always think, let me know what you think. I always think it should be a Super Bowl rematch first week of the season. I always feel like that's awesome to be able to see. And just maybe the Patriots can get their get back, but who knows? Some other important games that went down. You know, we have multiple international games, and I'll name those real quick, and I'll put the list on the screen so you guys don't have to just stare at me the whole time. But in week 1, the 49ers will be playing the Rams in Melbourne, Australia. In week 3, the Ravens will be playing the Cowboys in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. In week 4, the Colts will be playing the Commanders in London. In week 5, the Eagles will be playing the Jaguars in London. In week 6, the Texans will be playing the Jaguars in London. So the Jaguars will have 2 straight weeks in London. In week 7, the Steelers will be playing the Saints in Paris, France. In week 9, the Bengals will be playing the Falcons in Madrid, Spain. In week 10, the Patriots will be playing the Lions in Munich, Germany. And then in week 11, the 49ers will be playing the Vikings in Mexico City. I believe that's 9 games, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of international games. It feels like it's just that list is getting larger and larger year after year. So it's always cool to be able to see games being moved internationally. It's not cool for someone like me who likes to sleep, though. But I'm happy the Broncos aren't playing this year, because last year they had a horrible game against the Jets. They still won, but I obviously did not want to wake up that early just to watch the Broncos put up a stinker and almost lose to one of the worst teams in the NFL. But let me know, what's another country that you would love to see the NFL maybe branch out to and play a game there? Personally, I feel like somewhere like maybe in South Africa would be kind of cool. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below. But we also have some holiday games, essentially where we see the Thanksgiving Eve game between the Packers and Rams that'll be held on Wednesday, November 25th. It'll be in Los Angeles. And then on Thanksgiving Day, obviously the Cowboys will be playing in Dallas against the Eagles. That could be a very fun game, considering the fact that the Cowboys have really beefed up their defense. And the Eagles, I feel like they're always pretty good year after year. So things are going to get definitely interesting in that. But also, I know it's a little biased, but the Denver Broncos will be playing at Arrowhead Stadium Week 1 on Monday night against the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, it does seem like, is going to be ready to go for Week 1. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think the Broncos should have been at home, or do you think the Chiefs should have been at home? Because I think the Broncos should have been at home, considering the fact that they are AFC West champions and they won. They were also the number 1 seed in the AFC. In my opinion, they deserved that home game to open up the season, but that's all right. Hopefully the Broncos can take care of business, but it's definitely not going to be an easy one. The Chiefs always are a decent team. But anyways, that's kind of the scheduling that we have, or at least that we have right now in the NFL. Like I said, by the time you're watching this episode on Saturday, or when it's released at least, you will know the schedule and what your favorite team, or who your favorite team will be playing against. So let's get on to the final topic of this episode, where we're going to be talking about the draft lottery that went down on Mother's Day, which, to be honest with you, I feel like the sports scheduling of events has been pretty poor as of recent. They're picking the worst days, because Mother's Day on the draft lottery, I know the draft lottery doesn't mean a lot to a lot of NBA fans, because a lot of their teams are good and they don't have to worry about the lottery. But for someone like me who's a Bulls fan, the lottery is kind of like a holiday for me, because there's nothing else to look forward to as a Bulls fan sometimes. But the lottery went down on that. We also have the Super Bowl on Valentine's Day this upcoming year. That's going to be some tough conversations, to be honest with you. Anyways, let's get on to how the lottery results went. And if you guys don't know how the lottery goes, it's basically the top or the bottom 14 teams will be put into a lottery, and it'll be basically random odds, or not random odds, but they'll have certain percentages of what they can get for the number 1 pick or a top 4 pick, and then whatever their designated pick based off of their standings and stuff. So that's how it goes. Obviously, just because you have the best odds doesn't mean you're going to get the number 1 pick, and vice versa. Just because you have the worst odds doesn't mean you're just going to get the 14th pick. So let's get on to it, where let's start from 14 and make our way to 1. So the Hornets got pick 14, the Heat got 13, the Thunder got 12, and I believe that was from the Clippers, from the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Paul George trade, which is crazy. But yeah, the Thunder will be taking control of the 12th pick. The Warriors have the 11th pick. The Bucks have the 10th pick. The Mavericks drop to the 9th pick, which was definitely not a great look for them. I believe they had the 7th best odds. I'm not 100% sure on that. The Hawks get the 8th pick. The Kings drop to the 7th pick, which is definitely devastating. The Nets get the 6th pick, another devastating blow. The Clippers get the 5th pick, which, if you're a Clippers fan, you are hyped about this, because if you don't remember, at the trade deadline, the Indiana Pacers this should have been the Pacers pick, but at the trade deadline, they traded for Ivica Zubac, the big man from the Clippers, and traded their first-round pick, but it had top 4 protections. The Clippers got the 5th pick, or it landed at the 5th pick, so the Clippers get that pick. So the Pacers are probably at this point regretting the fact that they traded that pick for Ivica Zubac, but time will tell. Tyrese Halliburton is going to be back. It's going to be interesting. But the top 4 is where, like, if you get a top 4 pick, you are getting a good player, because this draft is stacked between either AJ DeBonsta, Darren Peterson, Cameron Boozer, and Caleb Wilson. And these are the top 4 teams. At number 4, we have the Chicago Bulls. I was so excited to be able to hear that the Bulls got the 4th pick, because I tell you what, it feels like the Bulls have been just on the wrong side of the lottery for so many years. They lost a coin flip last year to the Mavericks that could have possibly gotten them Cooper Flag. I don't believe that's exactly how it always works. I think it still would have been different. I still think the Mavericks getting the number 1 pick is rigged, but that's just my thought. I was so hyped. I was at my grandparents' house. I was really holding in so much excitement because I didn't want to create a scene, but I was so excited. But yeah, the Bulls got the 4th pick. Grizzlies get the 3rd pick, Jazz get the 2nd pick, and the number 1 pick this year will be the Washington Wizards selecting, or maybe not. There has been talks about them possibly trading down, maybe because they like a guy at 3 or 4. But anyways, things that definitely caught my eye, like I said, obviously the Bulls jumping up. The Grizzlies jumped up as well to number 3. That's huge for the Grizzlies, considering the fact that they're going to be trying to trade Ja Morant, assumably, this offseason. The Clippers, like I mentioned, them getting that pick is huge for them. The Nets dropping to 6 definitely hurts. I don't even know if they've jumped into the top 3 in a long time, or top 4, should I say, in a long time. They are due for something. Hopefully next year they can get into that. And then the Kings also dropping. That's definitely a tough look for them. Kings fans have gone through it, and I feel bad for you Kings fans, because you guys are going through almost what the Bulls had to go through a few years ago. But hopefully you guys can get out of it, and you're still probably going to get a really good player at 7. But the best thing is the Thunder didn't jump up into the top 4. If the Thunder jumped up into the top 4, I would have probably stopped watching the NBA. Like, it would have been so ridiculous. Like, can you imagine AJ DeBonsta getting drafted to the Oklahoma City Thunder? I would genuinely be sick to my stomach. But I do think this lottery panned out pretty well, especially as a Bulls fan. I'm really excited. I do think this NBA draft class is very deep. And I'll explain that in future episodes. I'll do mock drafts and stuff. Maybe I'll do a mock draft next week. I'm not sure. We have the combine going on as of now. So a lot of players are rising, which means players are automatically going to start lowering just because other players are rising. So it's kind of hard to determine where players could possibly fall at, but I'll do a couple mock drafts before the NBA draft, I believe next month. So we're already getting to that point. The playoffs are going down. You know, the Knicks are waiting for a team in the Eastern Conference Finals to go against. And then the Thunder are also waiting to see if most likely the Spurs are going to move on, which the Thunder Spurs Western Conference Finals could be really fun. But anyways, that's going to be the end of podcast number 96 of Sports Talk with JWock. Once again, thank you guys so much for your continuous support. Like I said, if you'd like to, you could always like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. I would really appreciate the most if you just shared this podcast with others so that others can know about this podcast, because I just want to continue to grow this channel. I've had a lot of fun doing this. I've done this channel on YouTube at least for a little over 2 years now, so I've definitely had a fun time. I've learned a ton. But before we get on to the end of this episode, I just want to do a quick little plug for something that I've been kind of planning on working on for the future. It doesn't really apply to the podcast, I guess, but I kind of want to go into a career path of possibly being a basketball trainer one day. So I definitely just kind of want to give you a little pitch of what I want. And yeah, you don't have to listen to this, but I'm just going to give it to you anyways. Basically, I just want to be able to work with kids from elementary school up to even high school, just being able to work with these kids and being able to develop their games in every way possible, as the basketball game in general is just evolving so much in so many different ways, where shooting's becoming more important. We are seeing just centers starting to become like point guards almost. Like, there's so many things, and I feel like we need to be able to really focus on the fundamentals of the game and being able to get these kids to practice the way that basketball needs to be played in the best way possible so that these kids can play at their very best. I feel like nowadays with youth sports specifically, there's a lot of games and not a lot of practices. And I think you need to find that common balance of games and practices. I think personally there needs to be more practices than games, but that's just my personal opinion. And I think the more practices these kids can have, especially in the off season, that's really going to help them go into their respected seasons, whether that's through club, school ball, or whatever it is. It's going to help them a lot. But anyways, I'll give you guys more information in future episodes about that. So if you guys are interested in me helping train you or something, just let me know down below in the comments, or you can always message me on any social media platform that I have. Just let me know. But I'll be giving you more information in the future. But anyways, that's going to be the end of podcast number 96. Once again, thank you guys so much for your support, and I hope you all have an amazing week. God bless.